So today is Wednesday, October 19th. I'm just wild about Harry. So here I am at 11 Baker Street and I'm interviewing longtime resident of Richmond, Harry Pierce. What year were you born, Harry?
1931.
1931. That means in 9 years you'll be 100. Wow, that's fantastic. And I'm so happy to be here today. And I wondered, what year did you move to Richmond?
1972,
And you moved here from where?
from Maryland.
Okay, and what precipitated that move?
We knew some people here, and we visited them. They were military. It was a military family, and they were stationed up here, and we knew them from. I guess it was probably through church in Maryland, and came up to visit them, and we looked around some, and had a nice visit. And he said, there's a store for sale here in town, and I had 10 years, I guess it was, with Safeway stores as manager of several of their stores. And I said, well, I'm interested in corporate, and said I would never be an independent grocer. Well,
That's what happened, isn't it? You
we
did.
checked the store and went back home, and I figured it was about time. I had for 10 years with a big company that I would be pretty well used up as far as they were concerned. So we mentioned about coming back up here, and so I came up and checked things around and checked on the store, and my wife said, well, I'm for it, so it's up to you. I said, well, I guess that's all I needed to know. So we started making arrangements to put our house on sale there, and it went very quick. It was a fairly new house, and we came to Maine.
How much notice did you give the Safeway when you were leaving?
I really didn't get the word out to them. I knew I shouldn't tell them until everything was settled and ready to go.
That was smart.
And the district manager got word some way. He said, I heard that you were going to Maine. I forget how he worded it, and to with a relative or something. And I said, well, I was going to give you notice, and I was making arrangements to move to Maine. And he said, well, I know you have a lot you need to take care of, so the assistant manager can take over the store, and we will relieve you of your duties here. We'll pay you for the 2 weeks, and so.
And off you went to Maine with your lovely wife, Kay.
Yeah.
And how many children did you have at the time?
We had 5.
Wow, you brought a whole family.
Yeah.
That was like a big undertaking.
My older sister stayed behind.
Oh, she did.
She didn't move.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that she didn't want to come to the small town bit.
So we got to here to this small town, this beautiful small town of Richmond. Where did you live?
We lived over the store for a while, and
your store was right on Main Street.
Yep, yes, on Main Street, and we in the attic of the store there was an apartment set up there, and we extended into part of the building that wasn't in the apartment and added another bedroom there, and so we stayed there, and then until we heard about this place for sale.
And when did you move to this house on 11 Baker Street?
I guess it was probably the same year, maybe.
I think it was 73.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been, or when everything got eventually moved. I don't know. I was in diapers.
This is an incredibly historic house, and I'm going to post some information about it after the video, but this is an incredible house. And do you feel comfortable if I ask you how much you paid for this house in the 70s? Because it's incredible what you paid for this house.
I think it was $19,000.
$19,000. Incredible. Well, you can't find a house for that price today.
No,
Mm-hmm.
it was an apartment house. It was set up, and it had I don't know, 2 or 3 different setups in the house.
And you turned it into a regular just house without apartments. And I have to say, your wife Kay did an incredible job of decorating this. It is stunning. I loved her. I love her taste. Love it. So something happened to you when you were in this house, though, that was quite traumatic, right?
Yes, it was Christmas night, I guess it was, that we were
1975.
at 75. Yes, we. Kay said, I smell smoke, and we didn't have it upstairs in the hallway with steel boards and everything there. We hadn't done the floor upstairs or anything. And she said, it smells like smoke, and it's like it's coming up through the floor there. And I came down and looked out the window, and I could see in the reflections in the snow of the fire going up this wall right in back of you where you're sitting there. And it broke out, and Rob was living in the room upstairs there. So we got him out. We called the fire department, and the kids all went over across the street to a neighbor over there, and they came here very active and got the fire out. In fact, I guess did it have this piano?
No.
No, it was a different piano.
Yeah,
at the time.
it was the one that Paul Roberts let you buy, or mom buy, or permanent borrow or something.
And the fire chief said, well, let's cover this piano up with a canvas, and everything. So we don't want to ruin that. And so they got the fire out fine, and I had an older gentleman. I guess he was the father of the people across the street there. He lived in Bath, was a very good carpenter. So I checked with a realtor here in town about the value of the cost of repairing the house, and he gave me quite a high price, and so I claimed that on the insurance, and this Mr. Turcott, the builder, went to work, and
he did a
ended up with
beautiful
this.
job. Beautiful job. I just love your house. Okay, so I want to ask you some more questions.
Okay.
You had a very interesting object in your barn for quite a long time in this house. And if you know what I'm speaking to it about, it had to do with T.J. Southard, who was a very famous person from this town. Can you tell me what it was?
Well, my wife was was an antique dealer at the time, and she heard about this statue of T.J. Southard from Richmond, and she checked on it, and I think it was in Gardner. Someone had it up there, and so she arranged to buy it from them, and then turned it over to the
So your wife actually purchased the statue of T.J. Southard, and then she turned it over to the Historic Society?
well, it was, I guess she ended up actually sold it to a man that owns that house on the corner over there, that big house,
The Southern House.
the Southern house.
Okay, would that be Fred and his wife, Ann?
Yes.
Yeah, Fred
Mhm.
and Ann owned it. Oh, they have it there in their house now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's coming out for the bicentennial. So that's very exciting that, you know, we
Yeah.
have that history with that statue. And I just love a lot of interesting people from this town. One was Polly Roberts. Can you
Oh,
say
yeah.
something about Polly Roberts? Do you have any memories?
Oh yes, yeah, very, very much.
Infectious laugh.
Oh, I love that.
And her and her husband, they lived up the street here,
Okay.
and she was a good friend of Kay's. And Paul, they would come down and visit, and Paul would, he's kind of a character. he would kind of grunt a little bit, and pretty soon he would come over to the piano.
He
Start
was so
playing.
good.
Oh,
Start
really?
playing. So
Oh,
good.
how nice to know.
But he was a hunchback,
Uh-huh.
you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
He was down like that, and he had a pipe in his mouth
love it.
all the time. I love the smell.
Oh.
And when and like you said, you go, all of a sudden he just start playing the most beautiful melodies with so much emotion.
Oh. Was
No offense, Mom.
it classical? Did he play classical music?
Not real.
Yeah.
Not
Do you
really.
think it was
It
original?
was sort of jazz or something. I just
Wow.
remember sometimes he really floated all over the place.
That was very heartwarming. And you know, Polly Roberts, the Richmond Historic and Cultural Society, is now located in Roberts Hall. And that's a building that was built with money that Polly Roberts left to the town of Richmond.
Oh,
And we have her picture. You should come visit soon. We have her picture when you walk in the door. It's like she's up there, you know, looking at all of us and smiling. So tell me one Polly Roberts story if you have one.
I don't know if I.
She sure did a lot in this town to preserve the history.
Oh, she certainly did.
And your
She-
wife did too. I
so
mean,
they would come and they would visit, and Paul would run a few times and come over to the piano and start playing.
I love that. I love that. What was it like to be a small town grocer after working in a corporate environment?
It was fun, I guess you could say. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. You know, a lot of young people at that time that you were doing your grocery store, they did internships with you. I've met a number of them that had very fond memories of working with you. That was a nice way to impact kids in the community.
We stayed over the store for a while until we ended up buying this house over here, and I would look out the window and see a couple cars parked out front. They parked at that time. They parked on an angle on the street, and they could pull into the front of the store. You know, 3 or 4 cars at a time, and I'd look out and I'd see a couple cars there, and I'd tell Kay, I said, "I got to get downstairs. They're getting busy." And I said,
That was
"Boy,
good.
isn't that something there? Here you would leave the store with 10 checkout stands. You're worried about them getting busy downstairs."
I think that's wonderful. Now, you know, I found it very interesting when I got to meet with you the other day that you are a bit of a tinker, aren't you? Because you love mechanical things. And I noticed when we moved to Richmond and there was a parade that this wonderful model, I think it was a Model T. Is it a Model T truck that says Pierce's Country Store on it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so charming. And then I heard that you bought the body and you put everything together and built it, and it came out so great.
Yeah, well, I did that.
Yeah.
and my
And
son has it now.
yeah.
And,
And also, you had quite a hobby of building cars, haven't you?
yeah, I had an MG and restored that. And let's see, I think I had a Ford pickup truck too.
Model A.
Model A.
That was a 32 or 31 or something, I think.
Down there, I guess. I took that to an Owl's Head auction and sold it at auction, and I ended up the MG package of parts and things, and I came home with that. My wife looked out and saw all this junk on a trailer. Said, "I thought you went to get rid of something, and here you come home with that."
You just couldn't help yourself,
Yeah.
could you? But of all the hobbies that you've had, I was most intrigued to see your Lionel train sets upstairs. And could you tell me what interested you in that hobby?
You retired from helicopters.
Yeah.
Well, what interested you in helicopters then?
They were model helicopters that I was learned to fly those, and I belonged to a club.
So you'd actually go out in the woods and things and fly these helicopters, these little model helicopters?
Yeah. And,
Wow, they had like
remote
engines.
control, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Then
Yeah,
they-
one of them had a pull start. It was gas.
No.
Gasoline.
I bet that was fun for you growing up. We're here with your son Robbie. I bet that was fun.
I wasn't. No, this is a later in life
Uh,
hobby he was doing.
okay. Did you take any of your grandchildren or your children with you when you were flying the helicopter?
I went once.
I bet it was cool. So you got tired of helicopters? What happened? How did you hop from helicopters to?
Well, then I moved to, I guess, to trains. I don't know how I ended up with trains. So
Because they don't destruct as much when you crash them.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, those helicopters went down
Yeah.
hard. So I
And there's a
mean,
fellow here in town became one of my closest friends, I guess I had. He passed away a couple of years ago now, I guess.
was that Dana?
Dana Sullivan.
I heard he had a great train set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know his daughter-in-law.
I think they ended up, in fact, I wanted to talk to them about how they disposed of his. He had a special building built just for his trains.
Well, you kind of have a special building. You've got two big
Yeah.
rooms, and I hope that we'll be able to look at those trains today. Yeah.
So
Oh.
other than, I guess that's how I really got involved in it, and ended up joining the club. We had a club, the main three railers, because they're
The three railers.
well, the model trains that we have run on a track with three
Okay.
rails. They have
Oh.
one of the rails is the ground, and the power through the center that they get the power to run them on.
Okay.
And that's how they ended up naming the club, the
The three
Club.
railers. I just want to say, when I was here the other day and I asked you to show me your trains, and we had to go up this big stairway, and there's a chairlift, and I said, "You take the lift and I'll walk." And he said, "I'm walking," and you walked right up behind me. And you're really an inspiration. I want you to know that. So I just want to backtrack a little tiny bit, because
Yeah.
any more memories about Richmond that stand out that you'd like to share, about maybe the quality of life, or the community, maybe the school system, your children went through the school system, anything you feel like you'd like to share about Richmond. What makes Richmond great is what I want to know. Besides you, Harry.
I I don't know. It's just the small town bit, and me having the store there, I got to know everyone just about. It was a very very interesting time. I think I told you about the fellow that robbed the store.
Oh, that's a good story. Let's tell that one.
That, he came in and I don't know if he showed a gun or didn't have a gun or what, but I guess the cashier that I had at the time gave him some money, and then my meat manager was out back. He saw what's happening, so he ran out the back door and ran down the street to the police station and get the police, and we knew who it was, so they went out and arrested him, and I don't remember what happened to the case now.
That's so small town that one man runs out the back door and goes right to the police department. Here they come in. It's like a little, Keystone Cop movie.
Right. And then an interesting part of the store was that the fellow that had robbed the store ended up getting married, and he invited me to the wedding.
That's small town for you.
I didn't go to the wedding, but anyway,
he did
that's
invite
small
you.
town.
There was another cute story you told me about. There was another grocery store here in Richmond.
Oh yes.
And you had
across
a
the street,
daughter.
It was Cunningham.
Cunningham's, and you had a daughter. And who did she eventually end up marrying?
No, it's my brother.
Oh, it was your brother.
Yeah.
It was your brother. Who did he end up eventually marrying?
The daughter of Cunningham's.
That's such a cute story. So what happened for the wedding? You put up a big sign. What did it say?
Yeah, we had a sign made to put across. I think they put it across the street. I don't
You
know.
made it with computer paper. We actually had a printer, dot matrix at the time. And it was color, if I remember, or maybe not, but I just know it said merger and marriage.
Oh, both grocery stores. That's so cute.
And it was interesting that he moves here, starts a business from somebody from afar, so to speak, and the competition was right across the street.
Mm-hmm. But you still succeeded, didn't you?
Because nobody hassled anybody.
Yeah.
Customers had loyalty to Pierce's. Customers had loyalty to Cunningham's, and if Cunningham's didn't have it, they'd say maybe Pierce's have it, and back and forth. It wasn't cutthroat.
There was a spirit of cooperation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't see that so much today.
Nope.
I would put a sign up, say bacon 99 cents or something, and I look down the street. Short time after, he'd have a sign up with bacon 99.
So he didn't undercut you. He sold it for
he
the same
didn't.
price. Yeah, that was cooperation. That was neighborly. How has Richmond changed since you moved here in the 70s? What do you think? Can you elaborate on that?
To me, it doesn't seem like it has the closeness, that it had back then. Mainly because it was a small community, everyone was here, and now people come and buy a house or something, and we never know who they are or what, it seems now.
I hope that changes.
Yes.
Maybe they'll see this interview.
Well, part of it can be that I'm from a different generation too, and maybe it's going on and I just don't see it, or I'm not into the community anymore that much.
Well, regardless, it's such a delight and pleasure to be here and to meet you and to hear you talk about these things. I'm really delighted. And anything else that you want to share about a memory of Richmond that comes to your mind?
Mm, I can't think of anything right off.
Oh, you know, you did say that you went to the sesquicentennial, because you showed me the coin from that recently.
Yeah.
That was when Richmond was 150 years old. That was shortly after you moved here.
Yes.
What
Mom
was-
bought me a tricorn hat.
Oh, how cute. So, what was that like?
It was just interesting, if I remember. I think we had a parade, which most of the time we had a parade every year.
Yeah.
I think something was going
We-
on.
It seemed like back then and up until the late 80s, 90s or whatever, there was a parade once a month for something, it seemed like. And there were fire trucks and floats and little kids doing flips. And, you know what I mean? It was a real parade, man.
And we had a lot music. Everyone I speak to in Richmond of your generation tells me how important the music was. How we had such a wonderful band in high school. Were you in the band? Did you study music in high school, Robert?
There was no music.
No, there was no music when you went to school?
No.
Maybe that's earlier on then. Because, you know, R.B. Hall, he was a very famous composer of marches, world famous. And he was born in Bodenham, but he lived most of his life in Richmond. He's buried here. And he had great bands and everything. And
Yeah, I can remember a comment that Paul Roberts, we were talking about, made once. He said they're so involved in sports here, and it comes first, and then music seems to be.
yeah, both
Wait,
are
wait.
equally important, really, I believe.
And
Both.
he said his comment was, "How many 80-year-old soccer players do you know are active?" And,
That's a good comment. That's
yeah,
true.
that an 80-year-old musician can still practice and do his thing and
That
add
is
something to the community.
that is so true. And you know, playing music keeps you young. It keeps the brain active and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, I agree with that completely. You know, I did want to ask you a couple more questions, and you might have had time to think about this, but I wondered, what do you think is the most important thing you learned growing up from your father?
Well, I guess I may have kind of learned a trade. He worked in a furniture factory, and I worked in the factory there at least one summer, I think, and he was a very calm and honest individual.
As are you.
He got along with everyone, and of course, times have changed a lot. And I probably shouldn't even mention this about the color.
You can.
And, he was, and I grew up in a
Southern.
different
Mhm.
environment,
Mm-hmm.
but he was always good with the black people in the community, and it was the same for me. I didn't understand a lot of it, because they had workers in the community were on the farm. We had a small farm, and I knew the tenants, the black kids in the neighborhood. We went swimming together in the river, strip our clothes off, and go swimming in the river down below. And then in the town, they had an all white swimming pool in town, and then finally it went through the time that changed, and I made a comment then. I said, "Well, this is nothing new to me." We were integrated,
We're all just
years
people.
before.
That's right. That's wonderful. How about your mother?
Uh,
Could you think of something that you learned from her? And by the way, you did learn a great work ethic from your father and a trade to work, to want to work. That was great. And how about
my
your
mother
mom?
was good, a good mother. Respected everything, and I can remember something happened. I don't know what it was. I didn't get my homework done, or something had happened, and I said, "Well, I can't go to school. I'm not going to school." And, "You are going to school." And I can remember hanging on the door and her dragging me out to the bus and get me on the bus and say, "You're going to school."
She was determined.
Yeah.
Oh, something I'm thinking of right now that I found very interesting. He was the senior class president of his class. So was I, and at Richmond, but he was in North Carolina. But his senior year, he drove the bus and got paid to drive. They had students drive the bus.
I love it. That's a wonderful story. We could use that today.
I think it was something like $10 or $15 a month we got, but that was.
And me not knowing how cool he was, I said, "You must have been a nerd being a bus driver." He goes, "Rob, think about it. I had money and I dated."
Right on. That's a
But
wonderful.
it was some rough weather, red mud roads, and we had to drive that school bus. We kept the school bus at home,
Can you imagine?
and I learned how to. They had governors on them, so you couldn't speed or anything. But I learned how to take a bobby pin and stick it into the carburetor some way that it would bypass the governor, so that, or otherwise there were many days I couldn't have got the bus to school because it wouldn't have the power, to
Go through the
go
mud.
through the muddy
You
roads.
figured it out, didn't you? Good for you.
We would, while we were in school, they had a mechanic group that came to the school, and they would maintain the bus while we were in school.
So you didn't have to worry about it.
They would gas them up, and change the oil and grease them and do whatever needed to be done at the bus while we were in class. And we'd come out and load the kids up, and away we would go.
Or something else. Well, we're about to conclude this interview, and I did want to ask you one more question. If you could make a statement to the world today, what would you say?
We need to get along, regardless of who they are or where they are or what color or what nation. And it seems so disturbing when our the Russians and the Americans are having problems, and it's probably going to end up the end of a lot of us before it's over with. And I'd like to see them work together.
Thank you so much. Now everyone knows why I'm just wild about Harry. Thank you, Harry. I hope we can go look at your trains now.
Thank you.